Hey, yo.
I really need you with me. It's so lonely in this city.
So if it seems a little off the video, it's just because this is like the second part that we filmed. We had originally filmed on our camera, but that like overheated, so we needed to film on the iPad. Basically the first part is when we filmed on the camera, and the second part is when we filmed on the iPad, and it was much easier to get like the footage from the iPad and edit that first, and so that's why it's gonna be part 1. Basically that means we're posting part 2 first. Okay, so for now, since the light is kind of now
Right over Sophia's
We're
butt.
getting a visitation.
for now we're gonna be filming on the iPad while the camera cools. Pizza, come here.
What happens when you die? So, as someone who believes in God, I believe we go to heaven.
But
Or
if
hell.
you're like, yeah.
Yeah. In Jesus. What happened? It's every time you move and then... I mean, yeah. Definitely,
lighting.
I believe in heaven and hell.
No.
If you want to find out more about that, let us know, and we'll talk to you about it.
It's not that simple.
Can't keep track of things.
But I know there are people who don't believe in heaven or hell.
How do you make godly ramyun?
Godly
Ramen.
So,
I will
Is
tell
it-
you,
is
what's
it
the
the
key?
number one key.
No, don't tell the number one key. It's our secret.
No, it's okay. Let's let the whole world in on our
Okay,
secret.
fine.
The number one key is to not overcook the ramyun. Very, very
the
important.
noodles,
Yeah.
you mean?
The
No, I'm getting
noodles
hungry
itself,
thinking about
right?
Me too. When's dinner?
Don't just focus on making the soup. You know, the package. Don't just use that.
Or add some scallions.
Add some scallions, add
Oh,
some
and
eggs.
when you add the scallions, add it at the end to keep it crunchy. Okay.
Oh.
And if the question really was about making godly ramen, you could always pray while you're cooking it.
What is the most important thing in life?
What do you think?
Like
Yeah.
that you need to survive? Water to live, water for life.
The most important thing in life.
Loving each other.
It's a hard question for us to, to make it a non-religious answer. A big part of life for us is our faith. We can't give a different answer than that.
And food.
For me,
Faith
I
and
would
food.
say the most important thing in life is having good relationships. Wait. How can I be more confident and comfortable with myself?
Oh, a question like this has to do with your security. To develop that part of ourselves, we have to know the truth about ourselves.
I think the
And our
person wants
worth.
to know how they can be secure.
And Daddy's trying to say, right? It's not just something that you get an answer and say this is the way it is. Somebody has to really continue to reinforce this about you and help you to communicate this to you. And at some point, you have to believe it, because if you don't believe it, or someone is putting you down, and you start believing, it's pretty hard to develop this perspective, a healthy perspective about yourself.
So how?
Well, I think specifically it's figuring out what are the negative thoughts that you have about yourself.
Negative thoughts are never going to help you to grow in confidence. So once you figure out what those thoughts are, I'm not good at this. Oftentimes they'll say, "Oh, I look terrible," or "I'm not that kind of person," or "I'm not that smart." And I think, those aren't, it might sound like the statement that you're just making to acknowledge something, but I think, those aren't necessarily helpful thoughts. So it's thinking about what are the thoughts that are actually life-giving, that are, not just negative or not just positive thoughts, but something that you can really lean into and begin to believe about who you are. So you can say what is helpful is, if you're not that great at biology, or if you don't feel like you're a good volleyball player, you can, instead of saying, "Oh, I stink at this," or "I'm not good at this," you can always add in, "I'm not good at this yet." Right? And so I think the more that you practice something, which is, again, when you talk about confidence, it might have to do with the way that you're thinking about you, but I think it's true. If you don't practice that, you're not going to grow in that. So
How do I tell my parents I'm in a relationship without it being awkward? I think if you already believe that it's going to be awkward, then you kind of just...
You gotta YOLO it.
First of all, you went into a relationship without telling your parents. That made it awkward. Okay?
Why are you yelling at them?
I'm just saying, you know.
You're lecturing.
It sounds like you're trying
you're
trying to get an
lecture.
answer,
You
you know, to get yourself out of a problem that you put yourself in. You know, I do. It's important that you are honest. I know it's hard to do, but you made a decision, and part of the consequences of that decision is that it's not just awkward. You know, it's straight up difficult because now you have to contend with the reality that you don't only have to tell your parents that you're in a relationship, but you've kept it from them.
Or maybe you could just like write it down or text them. And if you're too embarrassed to tell it to their faces, you can always just call them or text them.
I mean, can you explain to me what the embarrassment
awkward.
about-
Like, I don't know. It's just one of those things.
What's awkward about telling them?
Because it's like they'll tease you.
Huh?
Maybe because they'll tease you and you're
Oh, they'll
embarrassed.
tease you? Oh,
Dad.
okay.
Who's
Because
saying,
you know,
is
I
he
would.
cute?
Yeah, I'm.
Listen, what's important to know is that the person that you date right now, especially if you're middle school,
Will not be your
you
soulmate.
should not be dating in middle school. I'm kidding. Okay, well, kind of.
You know, one of the most important parts, I think, about being in a relationship, whether you're in middle school, whether you're in high school, college, or later on, you always want to be able to journey with somebody. You know, that you don't journey alone. Because every time you're just alone, what happens when you have challenges? You need somebody to talk through these things. So it's a great practice right now to be able to let other people who might have a little more experience, which means you don't let
other, like, middle schoolers be a part, you know, they're not the ones that you're actually turning to for relationship advice. You don't turn to people who've never been in a relationship or maybe been in a relationship once. Journey with people. That's what I would say.
What time of a person's life is the hardest? Example, high school because of drama or adulthood?
I think everybody's life is different, and whatever happens individually or in a family, you know, it's very different. So I don't think there is like what is the hardest. People usually say middle school is the hardest, but then there are others who will say high school was really hard, or even college. But I think it's not that it's hard. I think every phase is different.
How do I confess to my crush?
Candy Crush?
People say don't do it over text, but then I read an article that's saying it's fine if you do.
Develop a rap. I got a crush on you. Do you have a crush on me?
That is the one question you do not ask people.
But you can try to have fun with it rather than
True.
making it this overbearing, you know, overwhelming
Yeah, you gotta
situation.
make it casual. You gotta.
Yeah, that's why I say you should rap. I got a crush on you.
I mean, I know it's scary, right? Like, again, it goes back to what we were saying at the beginning, the fear of rejection or fear that you'll be made fun of. And
Yeah, you
all
gotta
that.
YOLO it.
Come here.
But, yeah, it's...
come here.
Sometimes
Come.
we'll get enough courage to say something, and other times we won't. And I
Yeah,
think
there's
that's
like that-
both are okay.
There's like that one moment where you're on like a life high and you just blurt random things out randomly.
But I think what is important is that no matter what the outcome is, you don't let that define you. You know, so if somebody says, "Oh my gosh," like ew,
There's a lot of fish in the sea.
That doesn't mean that you are not a good person or that you are not likable or lovable or anything like that. I think that's really important to remember. And then even if they do say yes, right? That again,
Yeah,
they
I
still
know, right?
don't
Did
get
you
to
ever think
define
about
you.
that? Right? Have you ever wondered, like, what if somebody says yes? How do you react?
Yay!
No, you say okay, cool. I'll
It's
text
my
you later.
birthday. I can do what I want. That's the way I reacted when mommy said yes.
How do our parents' lives change after they have us?
Who asked that question? That is a very good question.
How do our parents' lives change in the best possible way?
Kind
No,
of.
there are ways that it becomes more challenging.
Isn't it like reliving like all the stages in your life that you've already experienced before and helping the other person.
You know what? There are moments like when you guys are going through stuff, and then I think back to the time when I was your age, and it is kind of fun to relive life through your eyes and the stage that you're in again. Level of stress does go up, like in the newborn stage.
Okay.
We definitely miss sleep. How do you go through hard times in your life? I cry. I give myself space to just acknowledge the hard times and the hard feelings. I will journal or talk to somebody.
How do I break out of overprotective parents?
That's a tough one. It is. Because because you know that your parents are protecting you because, they care about you, but at the same time, some of that protection is not about you. It's about how fearful they are. So there has to be an understanding on both sides.
And also try to build their trust.
Yeah.
You just gotta, when they say you can't do
You gotta
something, you
YOLO
don't do
it.
it. You gotta show them responsibility.
Okay, what else?
You gotta take ownership. Like if you broke your mother's vase, her favorite vase, and then you blame it on your dog, that's not ownership.
You have to communicate. You gotta talk. If you don't talk, if you hold secrets, if you don't share, you don't talk about those things,
Maybe you
then
gotta,
it's hard to build trust.
Maybe
It's like that with any relationship.
see, maybe you can just tell them.
That's
Talk
communicating.
to them about it.
That's communicating.
Yeah. So if you're able to say, hey, I would really like, for you to try to, trust me.
I think the key is not holding secrets. It is being responsible and building that trust, taking ownership. All of those things are really good.
Parents are overprotective when there's a lot of fears or, they're unsure about what's going on. It takes a long time to build trust when you lie.
It's easy. So that's why if you want to go out to a party with your friends, just tell your parents that you're
Yeah.
going.
If they say no, it's going to be no. But, oftentimes, when you continue to develop that trust,
They'll eventually let you go.
they could say yes. All in all, we all need to work together.
Thanks for your questions.
We appreciate it.
They were
They're
good
not,
questions.
They're not easy ones.
No, some
Right.
of these we could spend like a whole 20
Yeah.
minutes
I know
talking about.
this seems like a while that they talked, but this is not the most they could talk. This is like 1/100th of what they could talk.
No, 1,000.
Yeah, exactly.
These were some serious questions. Some of them,
Thank you for asking.
good and serious. So thank you.
Bye.
If you found the one, you should never give her up. I think it's the way life changes when in love, yeah. I surround my soul with the positive